No, I don't have any sound. Is that playing for you now?
Playing, but no sound.
I don't know what's going on. Sorry, guys.
We might say it after
Give
when
us-
we're kind of wrapping up.
Yeah, I will try that again. Sorry. It's always the way. 1 second. There's no sound my end.
No, not here.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, look, we'll just move on and we'll just play it. This is just a little video, just kind of an introduction to the Go game. So we do apologize about that, Bernie. I'll just try and sort it out. There. Sorry about that. I suppose why we tune in there this evening is it's for yourselves. You know, what are Go games? So Go games are my screen seems to have totally froze, guys. Sorry. Apologies about this.
Oh, it's okay now. There's working away.
Sorry, I'll have to reshare my screen. So, typical modern technology. I think this is the first night that we've actually had technical issues. I'll just reshare that again. You back on there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Presentation mode there.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just go out here now. Gives a thumbs up if that's sound.
So what are games for children? It's where children play. Go games are really games where every child gets to play. And with pictures and equipment modified to meet their needs, children will develop at their own pace and enjoy themselves along the way. So get your boys and girls involved now. With Go games, every child gets a go.
Good stuff. I hope you all could hear that okay, yeah?
Yeah, it was good there, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. So what are Go games? Go games are motivated by a small-sided version of Gaelic games, okay? And that goes all the way up as far as 11 years of age. Most of us on this call might be familiar with it, and I suppose one of the reasons why we run this webinar this evening is that, you know, we were looking back at it. It's probably 12 years since the Go games were introduced. So there's a generation or decade of people who have probably gone through Go games, and there's a new generation kind of coming through. So they fully, you know, don't know what Go games are about. You know, they're kind of small-sided games, but outside of that, they might know as much about them. So this is what this webinar is about there this evening. They organise in the Blitz format, whether it can be internal or external. So some of us would go out in the Blitz format and you'd be playing against other clubs, or they just come to yourself. The aim is small-sided games to optimise the child's decision making and enhance their technical development. So the key is underpinned by principles is that every child that gets a Go focuses on the holistic development of all individuals. So what is it? Modified game stroke. Well, we have rules for scoring, small-sided, all players, no substitutes, safe, supportive environment, and full participation. So that's what we encourage within the Go games is full participation, and we'll talk about how can we maximize participation within the actual Go games framework itself. Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. There was why were Go games introduced? I suppose they were introduced. Sorry, my screen is after freezing there. Bernie, could you just jump in for a second there?
Yeah, sure. Just before that, Billy, your hand is up. Are you looking to get in a question or anything before we move on?
No, my mistake. Sorry, it's gone again. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, that's perfect. Just if anyone does want to jump in at any time, just you can put your hand up like that, and we'll get to no bother at all. So I suppose during this webinar, we want to get a little bit of kind of interaction with you guys as well, and kind of getting the feel of how things are going out there. So why were Go games introduced? We might just kind of let you go in on this. So why do you think that they were introduced? Do you think they were running smoothly, or do you think there were problems, especially anyone that has been involved kind of for the last few years and they may have seen a little bit of a change or a transition in the way the Go games have been presented or have been kind of given to us? So if just in the chat box, we should see the chat box there in front of us. So why do we think that they were introduced? Does anybody know? If you want to write it into the box there. We give you just a minute to do that. Or maybe you think that maybe the games beforehand were too competitive, or numbers wise, or anything that you feel that's why. Okay, so too many children being left behind, one kid dominating, more touches, increased participation by all children, avoid competition, and ensure everyone gets a chance to play, getting every child involved, definitely. Give all children of different abilities an opportunity to play, to make it more inclusive. The games were dominated by strong players. To give every child a chance and to get participation and to develop players. Fair for all players, everyone gets to participate, keep children in the game for longer. Yeah, like that's, we're going to be touching on it again, but that's really why smaller numbers and easier to support the children. And there might be one or two more coming in there before we move on to it. More structured, definitely. Yeah, so I suppose like for too long, the kind of the practice in sport, was kind of to identify and kind of cultivate the talented players and elite teams, of the younger ages. And there was a tendency to, like we have said there, to nurture and maybe perceive kind of the best and neglect kind of the rest. And that was kind of rife through all our games, that the best players were getting put in the whole time and kind of dominating it, and that was going along all the way up through the ranks. And kind of as the presentation goes on, we'll see that that's not best practice, and that's not what the games are about. So there was need for change, for big time, for all the reasons that you have said there, to make sure that everybody gets involved, to make sure that it's not been dominated by the strong players, and to make sure that more players are getting involved. You're back there, Darren.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So some of you can keep going there, Bernie. I'll just flick through it there. Yeah.
Grand. So to make sure the participation levels and the game and the time, lack of involvement, I suppose, from the participants. The training and the competition were geared for outcomes and not for the process of development. and the environments were not geared for the encouragement for participants to achieve their full potential. And again, there was a tendency to nurture the perceived best. So we've kind of, like, in fairness, you've touched on all of them. So I suppose it was brought about by all them reasons that there was a need for change. And so the Go Games were introduced to kind of maximise kind of on these philosophies that we maximise participation, optimize the playing standards. So, you know, it's the exact same rules kind of across the board, that there isn't somebody in Kilkenny playing hurling in a different way than that we're playing it up here in Westmeath. So the same rules are applying for all the children, and that kind of ensures then that the needs of all the individuals are catered for as well. Right, so that's really, really important. And again, we'll touch on it again later on, and that it's a balanced and kind of holistic development, that we're bringing all the kids along for the right reasons, and we're kind of making sure that we're looking after the whole needs of the child and not just the playing area of it. Move it on there, yeah. Okay, so again, this is for you guys to go into the chat again. So what are the benefits of the Go Games, you think? And I know a lot of it is going to kind of mirror kind of the opposite of what we have said there, but we'll get a few more in on this one. So in the chat again, so what do you think are the benefits of the Go Games? And especially anyone that has kind of been involved in it for the last number of years, even things that you see that you think that have really brought Go Games to life. There's lots of game time for the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. There's get to learn without pressure.
Yeah.
Meaningful game time for children at all levels and ability, more organised, and coaches, inclusive, better atmosphere, good stuff. Yeah.
Competitive nature eliminated. The kids learn in a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take one or two more there, guys. And I know it's a little bit slow when we're waiting for it to come in like that. No one is left behind. Children get a chance to play. Games are for fun and development. Yeah, it's a really key one there. And there are some crack too, but man, fine.
Sure. Yeah, that's it. That's what it's all about. A bit of fun. Good stuff.
In theory, they're supposed to reduce competition, but in reality, some clubs do not in the spirit of the game. Yeah, and we'll touch on that again kind of later on in the presentation, Kelly. We will be kind of coming into kind of, you know, different challenges that we meet, but I suppose for this part here, we're really looking kind of at the benefits of it and we'll try and tease them out, and then we can get to the challenges that we get, and we all know that they don't always flow the way we want them to flow, unfortunately. Yeah, so like, you know, so a lot of the benefits that we would have seen from it is the children get far more touches of the game. If the children are going to get far more touches of the game, that's going to make sure that that's going to, you know, increase their self-confidence, and in turn then they're going to end up better players because of that, right? They're going to be more interested, they're going to be more engaged because they're getting touches of the ball. They're not just making up a number and standing on the pitch for the sake of it. When we reduce the numbers down to small numbers, it's nearly forcing them to kind of get involved in the game. Greater emphasis on player development. So again, when we have smaller numbers playing, it makes sure that everybody is getting a touch of the ball and everyone is being developed at their own rate. So the strong kid is still getting loads of chances to play and getting loads of involvement themselves, and same goes then for the weaker player as well. So they're being brought along, you know, on kind of nearly on a one-to-one basis. So they're getting involved, they're going to get more touches, they're going to get more play, and in turn that's going to kind of get them along the pathway of getting better as well. weaker players get a fair chance taking their own frees. Yeah, exactly, Joe. Children are more engaged, so kind of touched on that again, and then higher levels of fitness required. So if you had a game before that, if you're playing maybe 12 on 12 or 10v10 in a small game like that, obviously there's going to be a lot less space on the pitch, so therefore the players are not going to have to do as much running, they're not going to have to do as much work. So we found, a lot of the research found that when the smaller numbers on the pitch was still the correct size for playing on, but there was higher levels of fitness required because they had to move more around because there was obviously less people there. Yeah, so there was a lot of work done in DCU by Mickey Whelan, and Professor Niall Moyne, I think, was involved in it as well. And research kind of acknowledges then that there's numerous benefits to the small-sided games, and this is not only kind of in the Go games as such in Ireland and kind of traditional stuff for the GAA, but a lot of other countries have found it as well and are going down the same route, or have gone down the same route in loads of different other countries and loads of different other sports. So when involved in small-sided games, the children participate in the games in order to have fun and to play with their friends. So that was found to be the top reason why children played. All right. So in a survey done, it was fun was the main reason why they played. It increases skill levels. Obviously, if you're getting more touches on the ball and you're getting more confident on the ball, then you're going to increase your skill level. The Go games can help to increase participation and enjoyment. So obviously we probably would have seen in the past that, if you're not playing, if you're only getting a couple of minutes here and there and you're only been thrown in as a kind of a token sub, you're not going to enjoy that. There's no point. And even young kids are going to pick up on that, you know what I mean? And they know when they're only been thrown in for the sake of it. So if you increase the participation, you're going to increase their enjoyment. And the DCU study found that when participating in small-sided games, the children worked harder, had more touches on the ball, and expressed a greater level of enjoyment and perceived competence as compared with participation in a 15-a-side game, or indeed the other side, even 10, 12 is the same thing. Yeah, so I found that 58% of players are lost within Gaelic games. All right, so between the ages of 12 and 21. Now this was a study done a number of years back, but even to this day now, there's still a huge amount of players leaving between 12 and 20, 12 and 18, and a lot of that is based on their playing career to date, even though they shouldn't have really a playing career to date. But if they have a bad experience at under 7, under 9, under 11, which we're gone to now, they're not going to want to stay and play. And that's the whole thing, is that we want them to stay and play and be part of the club, be playing the whole way up onto adult level, and then hopefully maybe take up a role in the club then as well. That's what it's all about. The research conducted at DCU sheds light on the error of imposing traditional competitive models on young players who during their formative years are particularly susceptible to dropout. So when we're talking about, like we said there, if we don't give them games, they're not going to want to play. All right, so really, really important that we take that competitiveness out of it, and it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids getting games, no matter whether they're your best player or whether they're your weaker player. You're not going to, if you're giving a weaker player only a couple of minutes at the end of a game, how are we going to expect that player to get any better? Okay, it's nearly backwards they're going to go, because they'll have absolutely no self-confidence whatsoever. The minute they do get into the game, they're going to be nearly caught in the headlights and wonder, geez, if I could do something bad with this ball now, am I going to be pulled off again? All right, so we have to get them used to it. It's just all about playing, all about having fun, and that they make a mistake, that doesn't matter. All right, they'll learn from it. That's how they learn, as opposed to the stronger player dominating the whole thing and the Downs delighted at the better local club. All right, that's not what it's about. All right, so we have to make sure that all the players they're there and that we want them to play and stay.
Yeah, just on that there, and I suppose it's the earlier we introduce competition, the more likely it shows that, like, the more pressure comes on board and players then start dropping out. And within the GA, they've looked at this and they've come up with, some of us might know, super games where like from the ages of 12 upwards, that they're looking 12, 13 upwards, when they go into first year into post primary school, is playing kind of just games where it's at under 14 level, that the county organises a super game kind of centre where players from all clubs, anyone, if you play with a club or don't play with a club, can register and actually come and just play 7-a-side games or 9-a-side games. You're not generally playing with somebody from your club, you're playing with other people that you never played with before. And the whole idea is that it's just they're getting a chance to play the game that they love. And it is important to kind of keep that in focus within this kind of webinar, and when we do get out back playing at some stage, is that there are rules in place, for Go games. And I suppose is, what really drives us should be, maximizing participation. How do we actually go about doing that? And, if we force the kind of competition rules onto kids, are we in danger of losing kids then as well? So we need to strike a balance where, yeah, look, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but it's in a structured way that there's fairness in it as well. So like that, it's as it says there, the last point, it's play and stay within the program. We want to keep them on the bus, and we want to get them all the way to the last stop, and the last stop is hopefully staying in the club and staying on the committee, in years and years to come, so it's the more enjoyment, the more exposure that they get, the easier, the more likely that they'll actually stay on board then as well, like. Now, I suppose, yeah, I'll continue on. So, I suppose for ourselves as coaches, I suppose, what are the challenges when it comes to Go games? So this is, I know we would have got a little bit of feedback from previous times, but some other people on this call mightn't have seen it. So we're always constantly looking for feedback, and for those that are starting out on the journey, or those that have been on the journey the last wee while, is what are the challenges when it comes to Go games when we go out and play on a weekly basis? Obviously last year, we'll have to go off last year, or even like that, even if you had got going earlier this year, before the lockdown came, what are the challenges? So just in the chat box there, again, can you just throw in what are the challenges that you see when you go to Go games, or what you may have experienced? So we'll give a few minutes there.
I suppose, Kelly, yours would come in there with a bit of, they're supposed to be a reduced competition, but in reality, some clubs do not do that in the spirit of the game, and that's definitely one. Getting parents to bring the players.
That would help.
Organisation can be crazy sometimes. The parents.
Somewhat there. I presume that is.
Yeah, it's just when you go to kind of enter it, it sends the message, so it can go a bit quick. Mismatched numbers, clubs wanting to play larger numbers than recommended. The parents want their kids to win at all costs, even at a young age. Sticking to the strict schedule, making sure every player gets a fair amount of game time. More help needed to organise more pitches, need clubs to agree on the number of players per side. Some clubs quite disorganised on the day. Clubs wanting to have subs when numbers are mismatched. Logistics. Parents thinking they're coaches, keeping it non-competitive. Some clubs show up only with a strong team instead of having two teams only come with one. Discipline issues from occasional player. Crash service need help, and people don't seem to get the idea that the ideal is to make the team so the players get to play all the time. Plenty of challenges there. And goodies at full time or not? Yeah, good question. Go games are another form of training session, in my opinion. The person refereeing needs to understand that. Some clubs will play their strongest team. So that's coming up a little bit. Goodies.
Just remind us there, Bernie, and see Frank, that's good feedback there. Frank, if you can, if you want, just open up your mic there, or we might just come back to it in a little while. Could you just give us just the person refereeing? Is that in? I presume that's not in your own club, or is it just going to visiting clubs, or who is it that you've experienced that's refereeing your games?
I suppose it's just, look, regardless of the location, and regardless of the club and all that kind of jazz, it's, the person in the middle may not be the mentor for the team that's playing. Do you know what I mean? They may not be directly involved in coaching or whatever, due to maybe lack of help or whatever. But I just find that, if I'm reffing a game, I see two lots of kids, I coach both teams the same, encourage both teams the same, commend individuals on both teams that if they've done something well, equally correct, juveniles or young guys if they've done something wrong. So, I don't like blowing the whistle. I don't like giving frees, you know what I mean, in this stop-start. But I'll always pull up the person and say, the next time it'll be a free if you do such and such a thing. And just to make them think, especially maybe not so much at under, what are we now, 12, 11, whatever, wherever we're at, but certainly, with the under 8s and the under 10s, just to, I suppose, train them, encourage them, point out what they're doing right, commend what they're doing, and just try and, keep it that they're always learning. And like I said in the little message, treat it like a training session, just in a different format.
Yeah, definitely. Like the ref, I suppose, and just very coming in there, the ref needs to coach both teams. Yeah, look, I mean, what we tried to introduce there last year, and in fairness, we'll get to it in a little while, is that we've done a huge amount of work before the break in our TY. We in fairness, Bernie, I think we got all schools. I'd say 90% of the schools, bar maybe a couple.
Luke and maybe were the only ones there that didn't get.
Yeah, there was a few that we were getting to anyway, but like all the TYs would have took part in a TY program, and we would have ran a foundation level course, and as part of that we would have done the introduction to Go Games referees course as well. So what ended up happening is that we had gathered the information of who was with what club, and we were going to pass on that information, and which we will still do, like not personal information, but we will pass on the name of the player that did the TY course. So let's say in Rochford Bridge, that these are lads or girls that have done the TY Go Games referees course, so they are ready to go, and like that they need experience, and with the Go Games you can give them a chance then week in week out then to referee your games for you. Yes, I do agree, we definitely need more referees, and they're learning just as much. So like ideally what we would like to introduce is 16, 17, 18-year-olds, with more of these young Whistler courses, that the referees on the day aren't the coaches and they aren't the parents, and that, like what we had mentioned earlier on, that it's a formalized kind of proper structure where somebody isn't just, oh my God, look, I'm here on my own today, will you take the whistle there and take the reins? So we're trying to introduce that, and like that, it is a training session for that better word for the guys, and they're getting used to the rules in the game. But like that, you could have a young Whistler that comes in that is also learning their trade, and we also need to be fair. So there needs to be a commonality. So from that point of view, refereeing the game, without referees, we don't have games. So it is important that when we do kind of put on these young referee or young whistler courses, in fairness, we had 2 scheduled the week of COVID. Correct me, I think we had it on the Friday. But obviously COVID kicked in, so we're doing north and south. So like that, user on this call this evening, and when the information goes out about these young whistlers, we need people to turn up to them so we can train them up and be of benefit then. So look, I know we will get a little bit to it there, so I just said I'd come in on it there. I don't know if Frank wants to say something or not.
Yeah, just very quickly, and I won't take up any more time.
No, you're grand.
Just but we had a couple, I think we 2 or 3 guys who might have done the Whistlers thing or whatever. But the one thing I would maybe just as a bit of feedback is let them lads know they're in charge. Do you know what I mean? Like there's 15, 16, whatever age they are. Let them know. Like, so what I would do is, they might be afraid to let the goalkeeper come out, a third of the way out the pitch or whatever, because he's not able to puck the ball out. And encourage them to take charge and to be the one in charge. And I know they're young and it's hard and it's personalities and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's a great program. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think really instilling the guys that you're the boss, you're in charge, you're the man, you're the girl, so they might have the confidence to make them on the field decisions. And that'll only come with encouragement from the likes of myself and other guys on Go Games days as well. So, but I think it's great. I think the Young Whistlers is brilliant, and I hope it gets going when we.
Yeah, no, it will continue definitely. Thanks, Frank. Like the thing is that when we do actually send them off into the club, it's hard for us to monitor how they're getting on. So I really like when they do start off, like the clubs have to really embrace them, take them underneath their wing, and talk to the other clubs that are coming, saying, look, we've 2 young whistlers here starting out on their journey. They mightn't blow the whistle as loud as they can, they might be a little bit afraid, you know what I mean? So these are the things that they have to kind of acknowledge that, look, yes, we'll keep coaching them, they will get better, and we just have to entrust in the process, you know what I mean? And not kind of for them having a bad experience then as well. So look, I suppose we'll get to that a little bit as we go on. And cheers, that's a very good discussion there. So I don't know if you want to add anything there, Bernie. I just want to highlight my screen.
Yeah, I know we're kind of probably touching the refs again, but we do it now when we have it. Like a little bit of a chat before the game, you know what I mean, at half time with the ref, with the mentors that are there. So if I'm hosting 2 or 3 clubs, I'm coming in, I'm letting the mentors know, listen, John is in charge today. He's a young whistler. Give him a break for a start, but we let him go. He's only learning as well. And, so that there's no shouting from the sideline coming in or anything like that to him. That he knows then as well, like, look at Tommy is only after starting training last week. He's not really good at playing. Not tarring him with the same brush that the lad who's been playing for 3 or 4 years is. You know what I mean? That they have a little bit of kind of cop on when they're reffing as well, and that goes for nearly anyone that's doing it. That you are kind of coaching them and that you're doing it, and it's not that kids are not going to want, well, why is he blowing the ref? Why is he blowing the whistle at me the whole time? It's not that. A quick little chat to the players, and they know straight away. They when they're playing on the yard and they're playing against a kid that's a little weaker, they give them a chance. Do you know what I mean? So it's just kind of setting out the rules straight away so that everyone's on the same page, that do you know what I mean? That it's all about just the kids getting more touches and more fun and more game time, and that's what it's about. So when we do that from the start, then everyone should be, okay to follow it, or else they're in the wrong place.
Sound, sorry.
So pitches, was these were little things that we probably kind of thought that would either help to overcome some of the challenges that we're facing, and hopefully we'll touch on most of them here, and if not, then just shout in if we haven't kind of come to them. So making sure that the pitches are set up properly. that you get help doing that. You know, you shouldn't be, if you're the lead mentor for the thing, you shouldn't be expecting yourself to come and you have to set up all the pitches. There's plenty of people in the club that can help do that. They mightn't want to coach or whatever else, but they're well able to set out a few cones. So long as you have the pitch in the right dimensions and they know where to do it, that shouldn't be a problem. That gives you a chance then to make sure that you don't have to be there maybe 2 or 3 hours before it, setting them up and then coming back down again. The personnel, again, making sure that we have enough people there. So we have the hooter next. In terms of personnel, I would have a timekeeper over the whole thing. So it doesn't have to be me as the lead mentor here. I'm kind of busy making sure that the team is setting out right, and I'm making sure the whole thing is, have a person there that they set the time. Everyone starts at the one time. The hooter goes then, if you have one or whatever, even a kind of a loudspeaker I would have got before, and just blowing the whistle into it or whatever if you don't have a hooter. And then all the games, half time is at the same time. It makes things just run smoother. Everyone knows then the next day we have to have our kids here in time or else we're going to end up missing out. You know, the kids know as well. They're not wondering why are they playing and I'm, you know, so it just makes the whole running of the day much smoother when you do that. The bibs are there, making sure that all the coaches are wearing the bibs. Give respect, get respect bibs, so that we can see them. Again, you're a presence there on the sideline. If anyone has a problem or whatever it is, they can come to you. The kids know that you're in charge as well. And if any of the teams or whatever don't show up with the jersey or whatever, that maybe you have a spare set there to give them then as well. The teams, so we're looking for a lot of things in here is, you know, mismatched teams and kids or teams arriving with kind of mismatched numbers and stuff like that. Again, we're about kids playing, okay? So lower your numbers down. There's going to be days that you're going to arrive to a club that you're going to have to be a little bit flexible, right? So whether you have to reduce the numbers, more so reducing them, never kind of increasing them up. So sure, we'll just throw him on, make it handier. All right, that's going to reduce the goodness of the game. All right, so we make sure that we reduce the numbers so that everyone gets a game. If you have to go and sub someone in from a different team, let them play with them. They don't have to be with them for the whole day. We can rotate that if you need to. All right, don't play a goalkeeper. You know, let someone come back and let them take the kick out. All right, you should know, like if you're in this for the right reason, as kind of some of us have alluded to there, then you'll find ways around these problems. You know, what all it is about is making sure that all the kids get playing for the maximum time that they can. An action plan. So again, it's gonna happen that a team is probably going to arrive and not have the numbers that they said because maybe a few people were sick or a few people on holidays and they never told the club or whatever. Have a little bit of an action plan in place. So if you think there's 6 teams coming and you have it drawn out for 6 teams, maybe have a little bit of action plan in your head that what happens if only 5 come, or what happens if I can only get 4 there. So maybe just another kind of a blitz kind of done out on a separate piece of paper that if anything goes wrong, I can fall back to this, and it's not thrown up in the air and one mentor coming up to you, another mentor coming up to you, and I have 10 and I have 12 and I have 15. So we communicate with the other clubs before we get there, all right? And really and truly, we all know as a hosting club how hard it is and kind of how much work does have to go into it. So if the other clubs can, you know, kind of have the respect and actually ring beforehand to say, I have 21 coming, you know, that gives the other club then a chance to make sure that they can run it smoothly or whatever. I think.
Yeah, no, like I can't stress that point enough. Like, so like the fixtures generally, you know, we try as much to, you know, send out notification, have pre-fixtures, but you know, I think it's just out of respect really to the other club and everybody that's involved on the day. You know, as we've said, that it's be chaos, and it's only chaos when people aren't communicating to each other and aren't being fair and following it. So generally the rule of thumb is that if the traveling club makes contact with the hosting club or vice versa, and like that on the morning if there's any sickness, just an update. It makes things a hell of a lot easier for everybody, because there's nothing worse, and I've seen it, and this is why like kind of we put like the people that are on this call or on this webinar this evening are the people that are talking the same sense, you know what I mean? We're all on the common ground here. It's people that aren't on this call are the ones that everybody here, you know, we're on the same and believe in what the process is about and follow through on it as well. Like timekeeping on the hooter. If a club is late, why should everybody else be held up? Like, you know what I mean? So they miss, you know, 5 minutes of their start time. They get 5 minutes or less of a game. And be sure if you had 20 kids or 21 kids there that missed out in the first 10 minutes of the game because you were late or you couldn't get out the door or whatever, for whatever reason, or parents arriving late to the actual venue, you'll be sure that they'll all be there early if that happens, you know, the next time out. So there's things that we can do, we can put in place when we're running a blitz or hosting a blitz that, you know, that we can be in control of. Obviously we're going into the unknown when we go into other clubs, but when we're traveling to other clubs, that we give them prior notice if there's a lack of numbers, or if you're having a good day, you've more numbers than you envisaged then as well. So it works both ways. And as Bernie says, you know, just, you know, being visual, being recognized, especially as the hosting club, you know, having your bibs on, all clubs, all coaches having their bibs on, give respect, get respect, has to be something that we have to be visual as coaches. That's about it. Move on.
Was Brendan has a good point there. Just the teams need to be matched, so there's no point in going out and one team winning by 40 points. They may agree with another team to see after 5 minutes if the teams are well matched. Well, like that's it. I mean, I suppose the way we would do up the fixtures, you know, kind of an inside light into it is that we ask the clubs, you know, how many teams have they got, how many players have they got. So we kind of break that down then. So if we think that they have enough then for 3 teams, and that's kind of, you know, if you're bordering on, you know, 2-3 teams, put in your 3, you know, mix the teams around so that, you know, there shouldn't really be at any point at under 7 or under 9 that a team should be beating another team by 40 points. Like it's about them kind of switching their players. That kind of looks to me as if a team is putting out a strong team and a weak team, and at under 7 and under 9 level that certainly shouldn't be the case. Maybe a little bit more towards grading it at under 11 if we need to, and we can touch on that later as well. But certainly if that is happening, it should be seen. And if you want to come in at Brendan, is this team only coming with one team, or are they coming with 2 or 3 teams? Like if they are, you know, whip one of them off and switch them with another lad that's playing on the, you know, team 3 or whatever, and it should kind of balance itself out then a little bit then. But I mean, that's, you know, there's no team wants to go out and be bet by 40 points, like, or win. It's doing no team either any good. You know, they'd be as well off if they were at home nearly kicking the ball against the wall. If you want to come in on it. And then Orla just
Frank says, no, is there a blueprint checklist available? Yeah, well, I suppose we could, you know, like every club is different, I suppose, and they draw up their own kind of blueprint. Like a rule of thumb would be, you know, we'll send out notes. It's kind of something that we will do is, you know, make suggestions, make contact when the fixtures and reminder fixtures go out. They'll say, look, you know, please make contact with, you know, the clubs prior to go. And so we will send reminders. We will have our own little checklist that we'll send, but I suppose for clubs they'll have their own little checklists in relation to the running on hosting of a blitz, like, you know, so, you know, setting up pitches, setting out cones, depending on car parking and all that kind of stuff. So it'll all depend. But look, I mean, if you're just communicating prior, I know Frank came in there with the WhatsApp group. It can work well. I suppose you would have probably seen from the GA, you know, WhatsApp groups and the whole thing around that. So look, what I say is there's no harm in maybe contacting. It's not a massive group. If you know the other person from the other club, by all means, you know, we set it up if you feel. But, you know, setting up big massive WhatsApp groups, I think we're all on enough of them at the moment. But yeah, just anything that can get the message across and communicating it, definitely if that works with a couple of the coaches that you know that are local to you, by all means, you're open to it, that's fine. And another, I suppose, tool is in relation to numbers wise for an administration point of view for a group. I'm not sure if some people are familiar with it. I know you could WhatsApp groups, and we can't be using them as a way of communicating with parents, but I've used them and I introduced it kind of to a couple of places. Is Teamer, where parents, it's a free app, they can go on, they can accept. Some of us might be aware of it already. It just gets a notification, you send it out, whatever the match may be, the details, and they just basically, it's a notification that pops up on their phone. They accept it or don't accept it, and they decline. And it's a good way then of gauging numbers. And we use it for the development squads. And to be fair, it's working well, because it also kind of keeps attendance then at training sessions and for matches. And like that, if clubs wanted to kind of keep people involved and rewarding kids for at the end of the year, for the person that attended the most amount of training sessions or games or whatever it may be, that it's just a useful tool. And like that, it's very simple: notification, time, kick off, when you're meeting, different things like that. So I'd look into it. Teamer is the name of it. Well, what we'll do is, we'll be sending this webinar with a little bit of a pack with it as well. So we'll be sending little links and little things for you, so little useful things. And like that, who was it said that? Yeah, the blueprint. What we'll do is we might look at that ourselves and do a little checklist for you, and we'll send it off to us. I'm just conscious of time. I know we started a little bit kind of late, so if you bear with us, we'll probably have around 10-15 minutes left, if that's okay. So I'll just move it on swiftly. If it works, so we were just looking at it. So this is just, we're going to go through this pretty quickly, is that just with the rules that we would design around this. So we're just throwing a couple of these up here, and we'll just make quick reference to them. So as Bernie had made reference to, this is the under 7s Go Games kind of rules, and what you're looking at is 5 aside, 6 aside. And because these are only little kids and they're only starting off on the journey, these rules, and I've said, are kind of put in there as a guidance and pitches. And you might note there that the zones there, and some people are like, oh, what are they for? Zone 1 and Zone 2. Look, that's there to put structure on the game, because some kids are only starting out on the journey, and they have no experience of playing games, and especially now with the very little time that we might get, if we do get back out this year, is that we need to put structure on the game, because they're learning. So we would hugely encourage, for the early part of the year, is to stick with your zones, and players get to play either back or forward. I know you can start with just backs and forwards, and then slowly integrate a midfielder that can go between the two kind of areas and different things like that. So like that, the blueprint would be, I would talk to the managers prior to, let's say, if they were traveling to my club, look, these are the rules that we're going to implement, send them around to all of them, and then just make sure that we're all adhering to them then as well. Because then there's no confusion around, oh, well, this, that, and the other. Look, the young whistlers there, these are the rules that we're going by. And then as coaches, then we need to communicate that out then to everybody that's involved with your group that's going. So look, we'll have these in the pack, as we said. So we're just kind of going through them. So we're just showing them here, because there's a natural progression where we go up then to under 9, and we'll go from, this is in hurling as well, we'll go from 7 to 9 aside. But like that, if you only have 7, play 7, maximising participation as well. And you'll see that the pitch size gets bigger, and the playing time then gets bigger, or it gets longer then as well at the same time. So that can be tailored like that, depending on facilities, the dimensions and all of that. If you have to play smaller sided games, or smaller sided games, or that because of the venue, that's fine to make everybody. So you just have to judge it yourself. So like that, the blueprint will be different. So now, as you can see, going up as far as under 11s. So I'm just going to go through these just a little bit quicker. And like that for the hurling, same as, so there's just kind of the. So like that, as I said, look, we'll send them out. So we just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how it would be progression. So yeah, Look, I suppose it's important that when we are playing that we're using the right equipment, and I can't stress this enough. So what you see here is the different size balls that we use, slitters and footballs at Go Games level. So you'll see there from left to right with the footballs, you know, that's a size 3. It's a softer ball where the kids, especially now that it's under 7s, that they can actually kick it. And like that, you know, that it doesn't hurt their foot, and like that with as they move up through the age group. So like when we get to under 9s, it becomes a quick touch football. Now like that, there could be a migration as you come to the end of the year. If you're using your first touch, you know, you start for the second half introducing the quick touch football then as well. So they're getting used to it and introducing it into your training. And then the difference between the first touch football and quick touch is that it's a 3.5. And it's a bit more heavier, and then from up to the quick touch, then it's still a 3.5, but it's heavier ball. It's a little bit heavier and thicker leather on it. And I suppose with we go the opposite way then with the hurling is that we start with a bigger ball, where, you know, the kids can actually strike the ball and hit it and get a good connection, because there's nothing worse than kids just kind of air swinging and only topping the ball all the time there. I know Tommy might be on this on the call as well there, so you might want to come in here and say something after I'm finished. Is that, you know, at least they're getting contact, they're getting success rate, and then as you could see is, I know there's a tendency that to jump to the smaller ball quickly. Oh sure, look, it'll travel faster, but you know, not necessarily. So it's a mixture of starting with the first touch, seeing how both teams get on with it, and then slowly integrating it then. So, and then the other balls then when you move on to it's just smaller, it's spongier, the quick touch ball, slitter, and then the smart touch then is just slightly the same size, a little bit bigger than the quick touch, but it's harder, you know. So there's nothing worse than getting a slap of a slitter, you know, on a cold evening. I've had it many times, except when you're a small kid. It was a size 5 slitter that was, and there's nothing worse than getting a large size football, you know, hit at you. So I don't know, is Tommy gone or is he still there?
Oh, I'm still here, Darren.
Good man, yeah. So you can throw your tuppence into that, like, you know, if you want.
Kind of covered it all. No, just as Darren said, just to reiterate it, it's really important that we do use the correct equipment, like for hurling and football. There is nothing worse than if you go down to a field and you see your under 7s using the wrong size slitter or the wrong size football. Like, it's not fair on them either. Okay, like this, the whole evening tonight was all about progression kids and getting them to the next level. Like, so it's really important, you as a coach, and for you to take responsibility. Go to the club. If you're not getting it, go to the chairperson and say to them, look, we need this, and that's it. All right, and you can't put pressure on someone else. Just take responsibility for yourself, and then go and get the correct equipment. And we can't really, like, that's the main thing about this, and that we are using that. And look, if you do need equipment, we can always get it for you, but it should be up to the club or your coaching officer to get this. And whoever the coaching officer is in the club, they should be going to the blitzes and seeing these things as well. Okay. And look, if you want to progress it, obviously, as Darren said, during the year, by the end of the year, that's fine. But definitely at the start of the year, we do use the correct equipment. That's all I'd say on that.
Good stuff. No worries. So look, we've just spoken about, and we just give you a few ideas, is in like the pitch format. So for smaller sided, for under 8s, you can see the zone there. There's 4 pitches. How you might lay it out in your own club then. Obviously, if it's a 1-pitch venue, if you've more than 1 pitch, you know, you've got the luxury of spreading it out a little bit more. And then obviously balls will go over and back. So it's important to try and leave a little bit of, you know, of a gap between the backs of the pitches then as well. Nothing worse than having a ball from 1 pitch landing in on top and hitting another fella or a slitter like that. So especially when, you know, comes to the slitter, could be traveling a little bit faster. So we just have to be mindful of it. So we just said we throw up, and then like a pitch then going, you know, 3 pitch then kind of go across the way, and 2 pitches is obviously a little bit easier. It is important, as I said, to kind of keep distance between the pitches as well, and setting them as close to the dimensions that you can, but obviously it depends on the facilities then as well at the same time. Okay, so I suppose what we're looking at here is that what is the responsibilities of each of the groups in promoting the respect initiative. So it is important, like from a club point of view, we need, like from a club yourselves, is that, you know, clubs need to be kind of getting the right equipment, getting the bibs for yourself, you know, and leading by an example is that, look, this is the ethos that we're about, you know, these are Go Games and we're embracing them. Okay. So we need clubs out there to, you know, lead from the front, is that, like, if you as coaches, you know, have a problem, you know, or something happens, you know, within a game, that, you know, you need to know that the clubs will be there to support you, and then use them with communicate, like yourselves or the club would communicate if there was anything that kind of, you know, that goes on if it doesn't follow in. So, like, we need clubs kind of buying into that kind of philosophy. And generally speaking, I think most clubs are on board, but, you know, some of them might, you know, are really on the ball, and some other clubs, you know, might just take things for granted as well. So it's always important. So then the coach themselves, you'd see there is that, you know, we've got the bibs, you give respect, get respect, as it is very important. So you're leading by example. So it is important for clubs and coaches to be visible and to be able to show, you know, what it is about. So at the start of the game, even coaches shaking hands or high-fiving or shaking their own players' hands, different things like that. Or at the end of the game, high-fiving, like, you know, I know all the kids kind of line up at the end, but even the coaches lining up at the end and shaking or high-fiving the kids' hands. Now, they were the good old days. With COVID, we might have to do air high fives. I don't know. So like that. And then the parents, it's kind of something that is, you know, we need coaches like that. You could do a really good job, and then parents then as well need to kind of row in and support what you're about and what you're trying to do. So like in different areas, I've seen it kind of happen, is that, you know, all the will in the world, you know, they want their own child to be doing better, and, you know, they just kind of shouting in different things, you know, oh, come on, this, that, and the other, you know, they only see their own child. So it is important, I suppose, as a coach, that I know you're kind of coaching the kids, but as well as that, whatever you're doing with their kids is to communicate it to the parents about, you know, what we're trying to achieve around sportsmanship, what the Go Games are about, because it's, you know, unfortunately, you know, we've seen it, and I've seen it numbers of times, is that clubs do a really, really good job, and then you might just have the one bad apple that might be letting it all down, like, you know. So it's just important that if parents, like, if you find that kids aren't developing and they feel intimidated by kind of, let's say, parents on the sideline, and like that, we had gaps in between kind of pitches. I've seen it done is that they'd have a parent area, like little zones, that they wouldn't be, you know, so close to it that you could have a set of cones that they don't come into the area in around where maybe the subs are, different things like that. That does help, and I've introduced it in a couple of different places. And also, you would also could have, and they're trying to do it, is in other countries they've a silent sideline. So from the sideline is just let the kids play. Now, I know these things are harder. I can't think of the country, but they introduced it a number of years ago, and they do it sporadically throughout the year, and it's just great. As in relation to the kids are going out and playing, there's, you know, the coach is just encouraging them, and everybody just kind of sits tight and just kind of, you know, just watches and lets the game, whether they miss the ball or hit the ball or get a score or not, you know, the cheer done, but it's kind of silent. It's a weird one, but it's one that would probably take a little bit of time. So suppose then the young whistlers we spoke about then as well, they need to lead by example, showing the kids a little the respect in the centre, and coaches the respect, and it works both ways. And then the players, and you'll see then at the end where the kids are all lining up and they're shaking hands, and you can see the coaches, we know everybody with smiles in their hands. So regardless of win, lose or draw, that, you know, that everybody's gone away with as equal amount of time playing. You know, it was a good, fun, safe environment. You know, everybody was supportive and they were all on the same hymn sheet, like, you know. So there's a bit on that side. I know we're kind of there's just this here. So just want to show you just a little video here. So hopefully with technology this will hopefully play for us. No, probably not. Of course it wouldn't. Let me think. Is there sound?
Yeah.
Once again, the county minor team, hot training every morning, every evening, can't make their own mistakes. How do they learn? It's no wonder we're losing players to pushy parents every year in the GAA. We need to respect players, referees and supporters in our games. Set a good example for everyone.
Look, I suppose that's just look, we've seen it, and like that, I think we have a duty, and I have had to do it, unfortunately, and a couple of times is have to talk to parents about getting too excited, even if it's for their own child. But like that, we've got to bear in mind is that you from your club will know that that's the parent of of that child, but somebody that just could be a stranger walking off the street or don't just happen to be watching the game, is that basically all you're seeing is just some parent. That's an example that we probably have seen before, is giving yards out to the child, and that child is not enjoying it, you know what I mean, at all. And look, we need to communicate good practice as best we can, all the time, regardless, and like that. If you're stuck with something, if there's somebody within your group or within your club that just doesn't quite get the grasp of Go Games or what we're all about, talk to somebody within inside your club, children's welfare officer, an officer within inside your club. I just can't stress how important it is that everybody gets treated fairly, and given a fair opportunity. And just has to have fun, I don't know if there's anything else then on that. So I just
there was a question there about where do you get the bibs, Darren, on the
So what we'll do is we will send that graphic on the pack. So what we do is that clubs generally will have their own club crests. You probably have already adult bibs in your club that you might use, and you just get them to a printers, and then with that graphic, and you can get them done yourself. So we would have got a few just with the camps. That's about it. It's not in the budget as in relation for all of these bibs, but I do know that we would have had a meeting pre-Christmas and post-Christmas there as games managers about the Go Games, and this is why we kind of did this, is relaunching the Go Games nationally. So this is why I came up with the idea of doing this, and so hopefully, if things come back, and as let's say into next year, that they might relaunch Go Games and send out maybe a bit of equipment to each of the counties. But look, that's only me just hoping. But look, what we'll do is send you the graphics, and then just get your clubs then to print up the bibs then with the graphic on it then as well. I did just think it's a great investment, and then look, the club have them there for forever, really, more so than anything else. I suppose what we're looking at here is that if the kids are, if they're playing, it means that they're having fun. It just means that they're going to, every child is going to get a go. So look, it's kind of like, as we've been saying all the way through it, is that look, if we can maximize participation, we add it into fun, it just means that they're all going to get a go. They're all going to stay in the GAA for hopefully a long time up until they're all older. So I suppose, look, we've come to the end. If there's any questions or something that if anyone wants to kind of throw it into the box, and I do apologize, we had a few technical issues. I think we're bang on the kind of hour when we clicked on and got the video going. So thanks for everyone for staying with us and being patient. Like that, very open to anybody just opening up the mic, or if you want, I can stay on a little bit and we can have a chat or whatever it may be. So look, is there any questions there, or if Bernie or Tommy want to, well, first of all, before we do get to that, because I'll probably forget, is thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Tommy and Bernie, who put in a huge amount of work into this as well. And look, it goes without saying, and to everybody who tune in, that it's up to you to kind of spread the word back into your clubs as best you can. And I know we're in difficult times, and I know there was, I think Shane had made the question just in relation to returning to play and stuff like that. Look, guys, we don't know the answer to that. I do know that there has been a team put together of the sporting organisations, the GA. There's I think Tom Ryan is on it, and other sporting governing bodies are on it as well. And the return to play, it just means that we have to go on what they say, and we have to really just play it by ear. And if there is protocols put in place for the tournament, we will obviously adhere to them. It just might mean that we might have to rip up the script for like what we would have normally for this year, with bringing loads of clubs, like, you know, 2 or 3, 4 clubs to the one location. It might mean that we just have one club playing against another club, you know, one, and then you're kind of spread out in an environment. So I just don't know how it plays out, to be honest, because they're still going to be in contact with each other, I suppose. So look, that's as much as I know, but as soon as we'll have the right protocols in place and recommendations then as well. So if anybody wants to jump in there, I don't know if somebody had said something there. Was there someone from, just open up your mic if you want to talk there. Somebody from under 11s, was it? Under 11B.
It just under 11 is the last one, Ed. So there's under 7, under 9, under 11.
Yeah, under 11. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Someone there.
And what's do tournaments not start before under 11, or is there a chance? What happens at tournaments?
Tournaments. Sorry, what do you mean? But as in like Go Games goes up as far as under 11s. So then after that, then like there would be, we were looking at under 11s would be kind of Go Games kind of rules with a little bit more kind of formalization on it, where it'd be one club versus another, and we would have been looking at kind of grading leagues as such to kind of towards the back end of the year to kind of get the kids ready for under 13, if that makes sense. So we would have had a number of groups in this, a number of clubs in the same group play, let's say 4 matches. Based on how they finished against another club, then they would go into a kind of a group then, and then play another few matches against other clubs then. So then they would we're kind of starting to kind of slowly integrate them into kind of a league basis for under 13. There wouldn't be a championship or anything like that, but we're just introducing them to just a little bit more of a formal competition, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I've never been involved in one, but I thought there were some at younger age groups.
Maybe Ed, you're kind of maybe referring to kind of outside tournaments that kind of happen in clubs as well, and maybe we probably should have addressed it, maybe Darren, that my feedback there is.
Sorry, just getting feedback there. Just someone might need to mute the mics there just when one or two of us are all open at the same time. So if you want to ask the question, then just mute your mic then and come back in. Sorry, Yeah,
we do find it in clubs that they are arranging tournaments outside of Go Games and stuff like that as well. So maybe just kind of a point.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and I need to be very kind of clear on this. If any club wants to play a friendly game against like another club in Westmeath outside of our Go Games fixtures that we put on, or if they want to go and play outside the county and play against other clubs, they must seek permission, and it has to be sent to myself. Internally, I look at it. Look, if it's not clashing with any of our fixtures, look, by all means, that's fine. If it's going outside the county, I have to then send it on to Alan Mulhall, who's provincial games manager there with Leinster. So we have to seek permission, and it's got to do with more so with insurance, that there's a paper trail around it, that, you know, that we're protecting the kids, that they're insured to play them. But yeah, like if you are going to play outside and you have played in the past, I would highly recommend, if you go and play them outside again, that you need to keep, because you are not insured if the notification of a competition, because if you're hosting one, you need to notify us who's coming to that blitz and different things like that then as well outside of that. So it is important that it has to come to myself prior to that. And it's to alleviate two things. We don't want to dilute what we're trying to do here within Westmeath, is that we've put on a number of fixtures, a huge amount of fixtures there where we had planned, you know, where they got 12, 13 games, you know, for, you know, under 9s and under 11s, might be a little bit more, is that we just don't want a case where clubs are just going off and doing their own thing and, you know, not respecting kind of what we're trying to do here within the county. That'd be one thing. And then I suppose more importantly is that competitions have been ran by other clubs in other counties where the focus is on winning. So from national, if you are running it, that there's no medals being given out, or if there is medals is given out. It's for everybody, the participation, that it's not knockout, that okay, you might play 3 games, then you go into another group, then you play like a bowl, shield, plate or cup, whatever it may be, but they just don't want to say that it's just knockout. So it's just a formalization of the games that they're looking at. It's not just win at all costs, and it's just not knockout, if that makes sense. Now I will, within that pack then as well, I think it is online, but I'll share it, is just make it a little bit more user friendly if you do want to kind of play matches. When we do come out of this, we will give clubs time to kind of settle in, and if they do want to play a couple of friendlies, they could, just obviously need to seek permission. I think Barry has his hand up there. I hope that answers your question there. Is it, yeah.
So, Darren, thanks.
Yeah, I think it was Edward. Yeah, it was Edward, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
No problem. Barry. Barry has the hand up. No, anyone else? No, I think that could be it. Look, as I said, thanks everyone for who is the hand there? Barry, do you have a question there? No, not it. No, gone. Put your hand down. Or Frank, anyone?
Yeah, I just want to say, look, guys, thanks very much. And just for any of the coaches that are still there, this is my, I don't know what I have, 10 years coaching with the kids. And like, Go Games is all about fun, inclusion. And if it's not fun for you as a coach, do you know what I mean? If you don't enjoy it, if you don't knock a bit of crack out of the kids, or let the kids knock a bit of crack out of you, you're probably on the back foot straight away. But look, we're all volunteers. Get out there as coaches. As I know, Bernie and Tommy and Darren there, and we've got great guidelines and all that kind of stuff. But get out there, guys, and enjoy it.